Scott Lamond with you this morning. David Dowsett back on Tuesday. Social media bans certainly making the news after a late sitting in Canberra last night. So children and teenagers under the age of 16 banned from social media. That's the plan after the government's world first laws passed Parliament. It's the final sitting week of the year in Canberra. Now, most of the crossbench voted against the bill, as did Coalition Senators Matt Canavan, Alex Antic and Richard. Colbeck actually abstained. What's next? Well, the new rules won't come into force for another year. It allows some time for the social media companies to comply. Let's get an eye on this from a cybersecurity point of view. Dr. Kiran Kewalramani, CEO and founder of Cyber Ethos. Hello.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
Now, I'm really well. What's your reaction to this? We knew it was coming. We thought it would get through, and it has.
Indeed. Look, from the actual standpoint perspective that Australian government has taken, it's a bold step. We are definitely one of the first ones in the world to sort of move down that path. But from the perspective of the actual ethos, if I can use the word, it's about making sure that our under-16s are protected from online dangers of bullying and scamming and peer pressure and all that sort of stuff. The step is in the right direction, but there needs to be a delicate balance around how this is practically going to be embedded within our society.
Do you scratch your head at this point and go, how on earth will social media platforms comply, given that most under the age of 16 are actually more tech savvy than the rest of us?
100%. 100%. I totally acknowledge that fact. I think most of the 16-year-olds are significantly well advanced in that. I mean, think about it this way. The first iPhone was released in 2008, and today's 16-year-olds were born in 2008. So they probably don't know anything beyond or before what life was before the smart technology was there. So 100% agree. From the perspective of the social media companies, they now have a very clear onus to make sure that they put systems, processes, and checkpoints in place so that the 16-year-olds don't sort of navigate around that. That brings in complexity, that brings in additional costs, but moreover, from the privacy perspective as well, they probably do need to deploy technologies that will sort of ensure that 16-year-olds aren't able to bypass those checkpoints.
So with all of that said, and possibly, and this is some of the opponents suggest that it will push teenagers into darker parts of the web to get around these laws, what security concerns do you have going forward over the next 12 months and beyond?
Look, the jury needs to be out on this one. It's quite complex, to be honest with you, because 16-year-olds will try everything, and they probably will go on dark web and those areas that they probably shouldn't be accessing. And in that process, they probably may accidentally be putting information associated with their identity, with their privacy on those platforms to then move around this. That actually poses a bigger risk, because what this policy, whilst it's got the right intention to do, it's actually then pushing or sort of encouraging the 16-year-olds to pathways that we don't want them to go towards. So it's look, to be honest with you, from a cyber perspective, from a privacy perspective, from making sure our next generation is protected, it's something that cybersecurity practitioners like myself and leaders are scratching their head going, how do we actually practically put this in place from the day-to-day perspective?
So your thoughts, good intentions, but far out.
100%. My suggestion on this one will be parents, teachers, schools will probably have to have a significant push on the literacy around this stuff and making sure our 16-year-olds and younger cohorts are fully aware of why this policy is in place, for example, but secondly, they protect themselves. They don't navigate around this to inappropriate websites and or dark web and so on and so forth. But again, how do you work around with 16-year-olds? It's a parental, an educational challenge. But I think the literacy around digital is going to be the key way to move forward on this one as we move into the new world or the new era in 12 months' time.
14 minutes to 9 on ABC Wide Bay. You're hearing from Dr. Kiran Kewalramani. He's the Cyber Ethos CEO and founder. Whew, yeah, it's a big discussion, and it's really interesting. We actually had you on originally to talk about protecting ourselves online when it comes to Black Friday and sales and all of this kind of stuff. But this certainly is a big discussion. But let's move to that matter.
Sure.
Yeah, Black Friday, an American hand-me-down event, sales everywhere. What's some advice you have for us to keep us and our money and our privacy and all of these things safe?
That's a great segue. Look, from the perspective, I just want to put some stats out there. I'm a person of numbers. Last year, Aussies actually lost about $100 million to online scams during this period. So the risks are real. The top 5 things that I would, or tips and tricks that I would provide to your listeners, please make sure you do your due diligence before you actually process or progress with any sort of a Black Friday sale. What does that mean? Make sure you're actually checking the prices. So if you're looking for an electronic device that's 80, 90, 95% off from the regular retail price, make sure you're actually doing some sort of comparisons across the other Australian sites to make sure it's a real deal. Because if it's too good to be true, there's a high likelihood that it is. So from that perspective. The other thing is to make sure that the websites need to be legitimate. So if you are actually processing or progressing with any sort of an Australian retailer, do some due diligence on them. Do a search on their ABN number. It's very easy to do. Just Google it up, going company name and ABN number, and it should come up from the ABN search. Make sure there are GST inclusions in there as well, because that again, from Australian law perspective, all retailers should be charging GST, so you know that they are legitimate retailers. Make sure they're sort of keeping away from the fake websites. It's very easy to do a search on a website. If you go to a website called whois.com, you would actually be, or Whois database, you would actually be able to see if that website is legitimate or not. From a user's perspective, make sure that when you actually are putting your information or your credit card information on a website, at the search bar where you actually put in the URL, there should be a padlock over there. So what that does is that ensures that any information you put in that website is actually encrypted. So no one can actually see your credit card details coming through or your private information coming through. Just be aware. Use payment methods such as PayPal or one of those. It actually provides a little bit more security than putting your direct credit card number straight in. Avoid any pop-up ads that come through as well, because some of these cyber companies or cyber criminal companies would be using pop-up ads to come through to your social media links and so on and so forth. Make sure you're doing your due diligence on them is a strong advice that I would give to your listeners.
Wow. All right, I'm taking notes, because not only for the Black Friday sales, but Christmas just around the corner, I'm sure
100%.
People will be, taking on a lot of this advice. Good stuff. Hey, Doc, thanks for the update. Really good to chat to you this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that.
See you later. There's Dr. Kiran Kewalramani, who is the CEO and founder of Cyber Ethos, a bit of a guru in the cybersecurity world, and plenty to talk about today.